You're right, folks, and welcome back. So, like with any expansion, we will get a pre-patch for Cata, and as with most of Classic up to this point, it'll be fairly true to the original with a few tweaks. Namely, getting the big shiny a couple of weeks before the expansion actually launches, this time being the Goblin and Worgen races. As such, I thought it would be worth going over a few things that you can do right now in Wrath in preparation for the arrival of the pre-patch itself, as that is when we get all the really big alterations and updates to the game before being set loose on the new content. Before we start and get into the meat of things, it's worth mentioning that the original pre-patch for Cata lasted 56 days and came in two parts, with the systems patch where features like reforging, new talents, class balancing, stats, and pretty much every system in game that got tweaked coming first, and the second half coming some weeks later and being where the sundering actually happened in game, and the world being forever changed by it. Because of this, some things were just drawn out and happened in stages, and not every change to things like dungeons and whatnot happened at once, and you had more time to muck about and finish up farming those things that just weren't dropping for you. Thing is though, despite Blizzard saying they want us to have enough time to enjoy and partake in the pre-patch for classic expansions past, they have definitely favoured much shorter ones in recent times. 2 to 3 weeks usually, so I highly doubt we'll see a Cata pre-patch as long as the original, and I wouldn't be surprised if the systems and follow-up patch are just rolled into one this time round. The reason I bring this up is because for some things, particularly the new currencies, there may not be a grace period for things like going over cap like there was originally, so I'm just giving you fair warning. It's likely that any excess currency you have that goes over things like justice and honor and what have you will just be immediately converted to gold. It may not, but it's likely this time. So speaking of badges, go and get them, as many as you can, because come the pre-patch, they will be converted in one form or another. Frost and Triumph will be converted into Justice Points, the new lesser PvE currency that you will use to initially purchase Dungeon Blue equivalent items at max level. All other forms of Wrath badges will be converted into gold at a rate of 5.5 gold per emblem, so either way you'll be getting something out of them once the conversion hits. The same goes for Honor and other PvP currencies. They'll all be converted into a new and improved form of Honor once the pre-patch hits. If you want to know a bit more about the changes to currencies going into Cata, go watch the video I did on important changes in Cataclysm. I cover it all there in a bit more depth. And one thing to know if you haven't been playing Wrath up to this point is that currently every piece of PvE content will reward you with badges of triumph, with the exception of the Daily Dungeon, Weekly Raid Boss, ICC, and Toravon in VOA, which all reward Frost badges. This is because, as the expansion went on, Blizzard updated older content to reward more valuable currencies. Now, there's no issue with that whatsoever, but what it does mean is that Heroism, Valor, and Conquest badges became increasingly more rare because they no longer drop. And unless you have been sat on them and haven't used them, you're not likely to have many, if any, at all. So if your goal is to make money off of the badge conversion come Cataclysm, you will need to convert your Triumph and Frost badges into the lesser versions, so that will be the choice you have to make. But if you can work out exactly how many of the higher badges you will need to reach Justice Cap come the pre-patch, you could just downgrade any excess for some easy gold. It's also fairly possible that the new currencies introduced for Wrath Classic, Sidereal Essences and Defiler Scourge Stones, may also undergo a similar conversion, but that has yet to be confirmed and is simply a theory. And then you got alts, or simply leveling a character for Cataclysm. And everyone says this every expansion, but it is just doubly true here at the minute, because we have Joyous Journeys and we've had it for a long time now, and it will be with us all the way up until Cata, possibly even in the pre-patch, who knows? But it is still a 50% increase to experience gains. That's a hell of a lot, and you'll be leveling much quicker with this on your side. So if you've got alts you want to level, or a character you want to get up as your Cata main, just do it now. And especially if you pair heirlooms with it, that's around 70% increased XP gains, which is mental. You've also got the RDF, so leveling in Classic has never been as quick as it is right now. And whatever your opinion on that may be, it is just true. So if you want to get a character up for Cataclysm, this is kind of your best chance, because if you don't like leveling, that's a hell of a bonus, and it lasts right up until you hit level 80, so it's not like there's a cutoff point or anything. But having said that, Blizzard have made mention in an interview that we'll likely see an increase to XP gains in Outland and Northrend once Cata hits, and Joyous Journeys is likely to reappear throughout the expansion on a regular basis, probably much like it has through Wrath, near the end of a patch so people can get up to snuff a bit faster. I'd also say if you want one last hurrah through the old world before it gets its facelift, this is your chance. It won't be long before it's gone. Obviously there are era servers and things like seasons and hardcore and whatnot, so it's not like it's gone as was the case back in the day, but that does assume you play those versions of the game. If you don't and you really like the old world, this is a fine time for a leisurely stroll down memory lane. Or if you've always played one faction but never really seen how the other side does things, again, give it a go before it's too late. You might discover some new favourite areas, only to have those areas combust a few weeks later. And then we have soon-to-be-removed content, be that achievements, mounts, items, etc. A number of Wrath-related accolades will be finding their way into the Feat of Strength category for a number of reasons. Achievements like Did Somebody Order a Knuckle Sandwich and Master of Arms will no longer be obtainable due to weapon skills as a whole being a system that gets retired in Cataclysm. Alongside that, you have raid-related achievements and mounts like the Undying or Immortal or the TOGC mounts, both 10 and 25. As to acquire them, you either need to complete a 50-50 full heroic run, or in the case of the White Warhorse, a 50-50 immortality run, which, even in the modern age, is still a bugger to do because all it takes is one person to make a mistake or simply even disconnect, and you are done. There are also items like the Chromatic Sword, a unique drop from a rare in Stranglethorn that will no longer be available in Cata. The rare in question will still exist, but his loot table is overhauled and the sword removed. It's a simple sword, but it is undoubtedly cool, and I'm actually farming it myself. Sadly, no luck as of yet. This, however, could go for a number of vanilla instances as well, because with the overhaul that we'll see with Cataclysm, the loot tables will also be revamped. So if there is a particular vanilla item you want for Transmog once that becomes a thing, chop chop. Zul'Gurub and Zul'Aman are also affected by this, as they are the subject of the first phase and are its primary source of content. The reason I'm singling them out is because when Blizzard introduced the Wrath version of Oni, they put an NPC outside of the raid that allowed players to go back and complete the level 60 version. Now, this NPC may not survive Deathwing's arrival and may also be removed, but I think it's a fair possibility that a similar NPC may be implemented, allowing players to partake in the original version of these troll dungeons in order to go back and pick up the shinies within, such as the Tiger and Raptor mounts. Now again, this isn't confirmed, it's just something I feel may be possible and something Blizzard might do given their track record thus far. And there's just a whole host of other things like the class weapons from Molten Core. So I'm going to leave a link to a handy little guide put together by the Warcraft Tavern down below, which was just immensely helpful for me when double checking all my bits and pieces for this video. So if there is a specific piece of content that you want to get your teeth into before it goes away, this should set you on the right path. Next is just to get your professions done, be that on your main or alts or whatever. I've said it before and I'll say it again, they are worthwhile, and at the end of the day, who wants to spend their pre-patch running around gathering herbs when they could be screwing around with new specs, punting goblins, or just calling every worgen that runs past a furry? There will be much more interesting things available in the pre-patch, so don't ruin the fun by waddling through the wetlands looking for an iron ore node when your pals are doing silly things to the Lich King and co. Again, I just cannot understate the power of professions, whether it be for financial gain or simply so you are self-sufficient and can make all the things you need for your day-to-day gameplay. But they are still time-consuming, and in some cases they are hideously expensive to level, so the sooner you get it done, the better off you'll be, and given we are in the coasting period of Wrath at the moment, with most people just raid logging, you might as well. There are also a load of profession recipes that will be removed from the game, so if you are a collector and like to have everything you possibly can, your time is becoming increasingly limited, Again, you can refer to that Warcraft Tavern guide I mentioned, and it'll give you all the details. And when I say they're being removed, that is to say they will no longer be obtainable. Those who already have them learned will still, in the majority of cases, have them, and as such have access to increasingly rare transmog and other such things. And speaking of transmog, I'd honestly recommend getting on that as soon as you can, particularly for Wrath content. As mentioned repeatedly throughout this video, there are many items that will be going away with the Cataclysm, so if there's something you specifically want, go and get it. But as far as tier sets and weapons and what have you from Wrath content is concerned, I mean, you're playing Wrath. If you want the Ulduar tier, go look for or even start your own Ulduar run. Obviously, there's no guarantee the item will drop, and if it does, if you'll even win it. But at the end of the day, that content is going to be far more attractive when it is the literal end game. So, crack on. And the banks on several of my characters are just starting to overflow a bit. My Shaman and Paladin in particular of armor sets and just general bits and pieces going through Vanilla, TBC, and now Wrath in preparation for the Transmog system. And the good thing is, this is not permanent. We know we are getting the new and improved wardrobe-style Transmog system, so unlike original Cata, you won't have to have the item in question in a bag or your bank or void storage or whatnot. If you can use it, it gets added to the wardrobe and then you can do away with the actual item, which is far more friendly. And since the modern wardrobe system is an account-wide feature, you can farm an item on multiple characters, and as long as one of them gets it, assuming they could reasonably equip the item, you've got it for all. So no need to refarm the same piece over and over and over for multiple ults. Anyway, that's me for today. If you've got any suggestions as to what you think would be worth doing in preparation for the Cata pre-patch, let me know in the comments below. And before I bugger off, I'd like to say that it's been pretty grand actually watching the reception to the Cata content on the channel lately, and it does rather light a bit of a fire within to do more. And because of that, I do now have a bit of a goal in mind, to see if we can get the channel up to 1,000 subs. Why? Well, frankly, I was staggered when I even hit 100, and 1,000 is just the next roundest number, and things are indeed heading in that direction. I just want to see if we can do it, and it's been fun trying to grow things thus far, so screw it, let's see if we can hit 4 digits. Anywho, if you'd be so kind to like, sub, share your pals and so on, that'd be grand, because the algorithm really is a bugger and sacrifices are often required to sate it. Have a good one, folks. Bye for now.